Thank you for being the horse, Wade. Welcome, everybody, to our beautiful Sunday morning service here. We're so glad you're here with us, virtually out there in Cyberland and here in the sanctuary. And we'd like you to join our fabulous song leaders, Wade and Kimberly Wooldridge, on a Bruno Mars song called Just the Way You Are, Just the Way You Are. In your jammies, in your clothes, it doesn't matter. Stand on up and sing.
My friend Bruno.
When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. When I see your face, not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. When you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. The way you are, the way you are. You're amazing, just the way you are. The way you are, the way you are. You're amazing, just the way you are. When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. You're amazing, just the way you are.
Good morning. As you've probably already noticed, I am not Reverend Judy or Reverend Alice. I am sometimes Reverend Bruce. And I want you to know that whoever you are, wherever you've been last night, we don't care. You are welcome here. What we are is we are a trans-denominational spiritual center. And what we do is we teach spiritual principles. And if you learn to use these principles, you can change your life. So let's imagine remotely that something in your life wasn't working the way you want it to. You can improve it. You can change it. You can make it really good. On the other hand, if your life is going really well, who would like their life to go even better if it's going really great? Well, you can use them for that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a reading of the Flames of Faith. And we will have our practitioner, Hans Smith, up here. I have to check. They don't let me do this alone. So. Lighting the Flames of Faith, a call to service. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faith, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the path of metaphysical, path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as practitioner Hans Smith lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning.
Good morning. Ooh, that's a hot mic. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Please join me in consciousness. As I breathe in the goodness and the fullness of life, I know that there is only one, the one divine mind, the one divine consciousness that flows through each and every one of us, through each and everything, inanimate or adamant. I know that this superpower, this wonderful, warm, loving God is present here right now, and that we are each part of it. We are each one of us, every single molecule within us is part of this one divine mind. And I know today, as this service evolves, that each one of us open our ears, open our eyes, open our hearts, and receive the message of love, caring, and celebration. The celebration of life, the celebration of friendship and family, and the celebration of healing, and the celebration of knowing that we are loved. So as I release this into divine mind, I release it with gratitude. Gratitude for all the blessings known and unknown, for all that we have and all that we aspire to. So as I release this into the divine mind, I know it is so, and because it is so, we can say together, and so it is. Thank you. Okay, and now we say together our affirmation for the day. I sit in joyful expectation of the revelation of God, and so it is. And now our declaration of principles. I believe in God, the one creative intelligence, operating through the universe and operating throughout my entire being, now and always. I believe this perfect spirit operates on a law of mind and creates my experience exactly according to my belief. I believe this perfect creative intelligence can be used by me and by every other person to produce health, abundance, and love in mind, body, and total life experience. I use it now, and I rejoice in it, and so it is.
Thank you, Hans. And now our guest musician, who is one of my favorites. If you haven't heard him before, he will be soon one of your favorites. Welcome, Harold Payne.
Some people like the mic on the right side, some like it on the left. No political statement there. And yes, I did bring my guitar this time. Last time I came, got some inspiration, loud and clear and strong, gave me the motivation. There's some changes going on, gonna start a little fire, and my dream a little bit higher. Feeling in my gut is never wrong. All got something that we're passionate about, giving that one thing to the world once we figure it out. Gonna put in the sweat, get what you wanna get, turn that whisper into a shout. Gonna celebrate all the good things in my life. Gonna step away from whatever doesn't quite feel right. I ain't gonna wait my whole life long. I'm moving up and moving on. I am grateful for all the blessings that I have, and I'm gonna be faithful to all my dreams and plans. It's time to use these gifts I've got, give my all and take a shot, 'cause everything I need's here in my hands. Gonna celebrate all the good things in my life. Gonna step away from whatever doesn't quite feel right. I ain't gonna wait my whole life long. I'm moving up and moving on. There really ain't no excuse. I got the drive, I've got the juice. I know everybody's on my side, but how can I pass it on if my game ain't coming up strong? Will I hit my stride? I'm gonna celebrate all the good things in my life. Gonna step away from whatever doesn't quite feel right. I ain't gonna wait my whole life long. I'm moving up, I'm moving up, hey! I'm moving up and moving on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harold Payne. That was wonderful. Some people like the podium on the left. Some people like the podium on the right. I like to have my quotes nearby because I don't have the power to remember and memorize them all. Good morning. I'm so happy to see all of you here this morning. My name is Reverend Alice Reed, and I am your spiritual director. And I'm here with you to celebrate the holy days. We have had a wonderful opportunity to really look and dive deep into all the different holy days that are practiced in the month of December. And depending upon how the calendar falls, I believe almost all the major religions have some kind of celebration that happens this time of year. And there's probably a reason for that. I know that as we are as I'm standing here today, I have the wonderful opportunity to weave together Bodhi Day, which was December 8th. That is the celebration of the Buddha's enlightenment. We've added the Buddha to our altar here. And he's hiding out down here among the poinsettias, if you haven't seen him. I have the opportunity. Today is the feast day of the Lady of Guadalupe. And so I have the opportunity to try to weave that into our talk today. Plus, we're wrapping up this amazing year-long theme of looking at the power of this teaching through timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And this month we're looking at the journey of becoming. And today, the joy of becoming. And so that the other thing I'll be weaving into my talk is Advent, and today is the third Sunday of Advent where we light the candle for joy. And I'm going to put that all into a beautiful casserole. And I'm going to tell you how exactly that has anything to do with the science of mind philosophy. Are you ready? So, what I know is there's a beautiful thread of truth through all spiritual paths. And so I want to start with this, a story about when I was coming up as a practitioner and a young minister. I don't know how young I was. I was younger than I am now. And I was working with someone, and they told me one day when we were working together, they told me the story of growing up and how their mother was difficult. She was not able to really nurture and care for this person to the degree that the things that he described to me, no 4 or 5-year-old should ever experience. And it broke my heart open to hear them tell me these things that happened to them. And when my heart broke open, I began to reflect on those times when I wasn't the best of mothers, when I would lose my cool. And I remember thinking to myself, if I caused my children 1 iota of the pain that this person experienced, that I could not bear it. And I sank into this deep depression. And I took to my bed for a couple of days, crying off and on. And I remember calling my teacher, and the Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Proctor, and he wisely suggested that I read the story of Siddhartha again, the story of becoming the Buddha. And so I did. I picked up a book and I started reading about Siddhartha, and I want to tell you a little bit about the man who became the Buddha. He was prophesied to be this amazing sage in the world, and when his father, who was a chieftain of a clan, heard this, it disturbed him greatly. He did not want his son to live the life of an ascetic. And so he protected him. He kept him in the palace, and he learned all these wonderful skills, and he lived in the lap of comfort and luxury. And it was not until he was a young married father that he ventured beyond the palace and first experienced witnessing suffering. And it broke his heart open. And he wasn't quite sure what to do. He couldn't go back to that life that he was living after he had witnessed such suffering. And so he began to take up the robes and the practices of the ascetics. And at that time, which was about 500 years before the birth of Christ, and that time in our evolution, at that time, the ascetic order was very much about absolutely no creature comforts, no comforts whatsoever, completely pushing away the material world to the point that they wouldn't even nourish their own body. And so Siddhartha did these practices, and at some point he found himself experiencing that great suffering that he had witnessed. And he could experience it no longer, and he decided to leave that practice. And he came across a woman who helped nourish him and bring him back to health. And still intent on finding what I'll call, and what many Buddhists call, the middle way, he sat under the Buddhist tree, the Bodhi tree, sometimes known as the Buddhist tree, the Bodhi tree. He sat under the Bodhi tree, determined to understand and to come to that place of the middle way. And after 6 days, it is said that he was enlightened, and he became the Buddha. And that enlightenment allowed him to have the ability to be not of the world, and to be able to detach, and to be able to have great compassion for the world. It's quite a story. The other festival that we're looking at today that I want to weave into this idea of being in the world and not of it, or not being of the world and having compassion, is the Our Lady of Guadalupe. And what I can tell you from my limited knowledge of Our Lady is that around 1500, there was a great disturbance in Latin America and in Mexico. And that was the time of the Spaniards that came to conquer the New World. And they came into Latin America and under the guise of being friends to the Aztecs. And once they found themselves in the community and wrapped up in and being trusted by the Aztecs, they then proceeded to destroy the culture, to take it over. And there was a man by the name of Juan Diego who was visited by Our Lady of Guadalupe, and he found great comfort in Our Lady of Guadalupe, which was the representation of the Virgin Mary that came to Juan in his own flesh, if you will, represented as the Latin Mother. And so what I know, the little bit I know about Our Lady of Guadalupe, is that she has been that place of deep comfort for the suffering of individuals in Latin America for many, many years, centuries. And so she's celebrated today as that representation of being loved so deeply that you can be nurtured and brought back from the brink of suffering. And so we have the Buddha, and then we have Our Lady of Guadalupe. We have the two of them, who one represents a place where the world no longer feels like a safe place, and we have to rise above it to find that place of compassion. And then we have the Mother, the Virgin Mother, who came down into the world to relieve it of its suffering. And then the third spiritual practice or religion that we're looking at is Advent, which is that joy, and hope, love, joy, and peace, that expectation of the Christ that comes back to the world, that comes to the world to bring it love and then rises above it. And so how that all ties into the science of mind, how about that? When I began to think about this, I started thinking about our creative process. We know that everything is created twice. I promised you'd hear me say this again a lot, didn't I? Everything's created twice, and pretty soon you're going to know it right away. Everything's created twice, first in consciousness and then in form. And so when I look at that idea of the creative process, I recognize, I see the Buddha as being in form and rising up to that place of creation and spirit and wholeness. And then I see Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she is dropping down into the world to bring wholeness and life to the material. And then I see the mythos of Jesus of Nazareth, which was apparently brought to the world to bring deep love to it, which he then transcended. And so when I look at our creative process, I see it as the perfect temple, if you will, the perfect container for how we deal with the world, how we relate to the world, how we begin to understand the world, and that each one of these beautiful bringers of light, each one of these amazing, and perhaps just mythos of a number of individuals that were there to bring greater light to the planet, perhaps that all of them represent this opportunity for us to have a more whole relationship with self. And so then we have Ernest Holmes, right? Okay, I did it. The Buddha, we have Our Lady of Guadalupe, we have Jesus of Nazareth, and now we have Holmes. So I'm bringing them all together, folks. So then we have Holmes, who was a great synthesizer of truth, which is our tradition, which is what I'm doing here this morning. I'm synthesizing truth. I'm bringing forth all these high ideas so that we can understand them at the level of our being. And so Holmes has this beautiful way of looking at all the different paths to truth, all the ways that we can experience the light of the truth in our existence. And Holmes brings it all together to tell us that there isn't just the high, holy enlightenment that we seek, but that we bring it back down into our existence so that we can walk it out and be the light in the world. And I really believe that's the true story of the Christ, that we can be the light in the world, that we can walk it out, that we can resurrect or transcend any experience that we're having. And that is the beauty of our philosophy, that it's very secular. It helps us to understand that we can be in the world, that we can appreciate all the riches and beauty and joy and freedom and love that we experience, so we can really appreciate that, and that we can continue to cycle through that using this thing we call the creative process. And I promise you, if you are sitting there saying, what's she talking about with the creative process? Take a class. Take a class, and I or one of our teachers will teach you about the power of this thing we call the creative process. That it will give you such freedom and understanding that you will know how to be a co-creator with that life force that breathes us, that thing that makes the grass grow. So I have a couple of quotes I want to share with you this morning. The quotes are right up here. Holmes. Well, first, like this one I really like, and when we look at this idea of the Buddhist path, or the Christian path, or even the Jewish path, what I would tell you is that each one offers us choice points, offers us places where we can actually make a decision and choose something different. And so I found this wonderful quote from Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And so Victor is talking about that very thing that we're looking at this time of year is a time of reflection, it's a time of understanding, it's a time of going within, because the light at least in the Western Hemisphere, has begun to become less and less. And so it is in that moment that we begin to have an opportunity to choose over and over again what it is that we want to respond to life with. Our talk title this week was The Joy of Becoming. The Joy of Becoming. And as religious scientists, as students of this philosophy, what we know is that God is all there is. It's not becoming anything. It's already whole, perfect, and complete. It's already joy. And so when I look at that idea of the joy of becoming, what I know is it's the joy of becoming a greater revelation of that wholeness. It's the joy of becoming a greater representation of God, a greater representation of beauty, a greater representation of wholeness. And so with that, my last quote for this morning is, I got this from Matthew Fox, who is one of my favorite, I'm gonna curse a little bit. He's my favorite spiritual badass. He has chosen, like the Buddha who sat beneath the Bodhi tree because he was bound and determined to know truth. So was Matthew Fox, and so he was a Jesuit priest who left the order until he could find truth. And he has an amazing teaching that is so similar to our teaching. And he says this: the late physicist David Bohm defined matter as frozen light. Whether frozen light or just very slowly moving light, matter, and our bodies that are matter, is something special. We now know that for every molecule of light that is matter in the universe, there are 1 billion particles of light that are not matter. This means that we who are light incarnate or light embedded in matter are rare. We are 1 in 1 billion. Rejoice, celebrate, be amazed, be grateful, and stand up all to the forces and powers that would put matter down or put the body down. And so what he's saying is that because it's so rare that light actually transcends into matter, and because each one of us represents light that has found its own vehicle of expression as your body temple, as each one of our body temples, you, my friends, are 1 in 1 billion. Celebrate that. It's beautiful. So as we continue to look at those common themes among these beautiful spiritual paths, I'm going to go ahead and light the candles on our altar. And so we'll start by relighting the menorah, and we'll light the shamash candle first, and then that candle will light all the other candles. And this represents that there is always light, even when we don't think there is light. That even when we're down to our last drop of oil, the oil will burn, and it will sanctify. It'll sanctify our sanctuary. It'll sanctify who we are. And I will light the Advent candles and the Advent wreath. And so this first candle represents the hope of the light. And the second candle represents the love of the light. And today I light the third candle, which is the candle of joy, knowing that there is great joy to be known by each one of us, for we are the bringers of the light. We are each one of us, 1 in 1 billion, have come to bring more love and more joy and more light wherever we go. Thank you very much. And so now I want to bring back our amazing guest musician, Harold Payne. Harold.
I thought I didn't need my guitar.
Actually, the good thing is I wouldn't need my guitar with this great ensemble of musicians here. You're really spectacular.
Reverend Alice weaved in the spiritual holy day traditions into a new thought casserole of Buddha, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Jesus of Nazareth, and brought it all back to homes. Let the peaceful waters tumble down my soul. Let me live in this moment, watch it all unfold. Let this joyful feeling come from deep inside and lift my spirit closer to the light. Oh, 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 I'm letting go. Oh, oh, I'm letting go. I'm gonna roll with the tide, surrender to the highs and lows, and to the pull of the moon and the ebb and flow. I am lost in the stillness of a silent prayer, just a movement of breath and a heartbeat there. Oh, I'm letting go. Let the peaceful waters tumble down my soul. Let me live in this moment and watch it all unfold. Let this joyful feeling come from deep inside. Oh, and lift my spirit closer to the light. Oh, I'm letting go. Oh, I'm letting go. I am letting go. Oh, I'm letting go. Oh, I'm letting go.
Thank you.
Somehow I feel we're almost done after that. There's the sermon. However, there are some practicalities here. And as many of you know, we rely on our fans, attendees, supporters for everything you see here. The musicians, the minister, the staff, the nice environment here that it's a pleasure to bring your friends rather than having to apologize for the things that aren't working. We have a really nice building here and a really nice community, and so it's time for our offering. There are baskets at each door and at the back of the sanctuary for your tithes and love offering. You can also go to our website if you prefer to do it from the comfort of your computer, or you can send it through the U.S. mail. It's all your choice, but the practicality is if we don't pay for the lights, eventually they turn them off on us. So it's really nice that we do this. So I'm going to invite you to bring your heart, your hand to your heart, or your offering, or whatever you have there, and say this affirmation with me. My offering is my acceptance of God as the source of my supply and symbolizes my faith in the abundant flow of this supply. And now some of the real life people here who make this possible. There is our music and choir director and extraordinary pianist, Diane Van King. And along with Diane and the Kingettes, we have David Page on drums. If there's nothing cooler than a bass player, and we've got one, Bill Dixon, and a guitar virtuoso, Ed Cuspy. That would all be very nice, except if we didn't have people back in the sound booth making it all come together, it would be more of a cacophony than a lovely mix. So for that, we thank Dave Friedman and Mary Brogdon in the back. For those of you watching at home, this is only possible because of Wayne, our camera person. And we have song leaders, Wade and Kimberly Wooldridge. And as our gift to you, at the end of the service, we have practitioners that you can visit and get at least a sample of what they do. We have Tony Sparks, we have Cheryl Lyman, and you've already met Hans Smith, but if you'll stand up so that people can see who you are so they know where to go. And they'll be at the back of the Tranquility Room or somewhere around, you'll see them. And now for some invitations, and that means Wade and Kimberly.
I guess we're not doing offertory song. That's okay.
Oh, you want to do anything?
Well, it's okay. Go ahead and do your invitations.
We'll be back.
Oh. Yes, sorry. The Reverend Bruce, it was probably not in your cheat sheet of notes. It's okay. So, yeah, this is a little song from the musical Scrooge, which you all know that story and how that turned out. It was a big opening of the heart for dear old Scrooge. And this song is called The Beautiful Day. And I like to think of it as the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree and Our Lady of Guadalupe and all the wonderful things that Reverend Alice wove together and that Harold so brilliantly compiled in the little intro to his song off the top of his head. He's so great at that. So here's a little something to think about. On a beautiful day that I dream about, in a world I would love to see, is a beautiful place where the sun comes out and it shines in the sky for me. On this beautiful winter's morning, if my wish could come true somehow, then the beautiful day that I dream about would be here and now. In this world I am blessed to see. There is light, there is love, there is so much joy, and it shines all around for me. On this beautiful winter's morning, God has made every wish come true, and the beautiful day that I've dreamt about is a gift for me and you. Thank you.
So, elf trainee Kimberly, you have completed your course of instruction, and when you complete today's oral final examination, you will either be promoted to full elf practitioner level 1 in the naughty or nice department, or demoted to workshop broom sweeper. Are you ready?
Oh, yes, sir. I've studied so hard and I just know I'm ready.
Okay, for your exam, you will evaluate each of the following activities from CSLCV on the naughty or nice scale.
Well, if it's CSLCV, they must all be nice.
Oh, not so fast. Remember what they say about the road to hell.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay, number 1, Conscious Connection meets today after the service to discuss today's message. Naughty or nice?
Can I say neutral? Because it depends on what the participants say about today's message. I mean, I suppose Mary Brogdon gets a nice point for hosting it. For the rest of the participants, we'll have to watch what they say.
Very good. Number 2, the book study is on hiatus for the rest of this month.
Aw, that's too bad. I guess Mary Brogdon's going to have to wait until next month to get another nice point for hosting. And then that's going to carry over to the 2022 tally of nice points, right?
Okay, so far. Number 3, Shifting Sands meets on Thursdays on Zoom from 10:30 to 12:30, and this week the topic is Healing the Inner Child.
I say that exchange of ideas is always good. So 1 nice point for everyone that attends and 1 extra nice point for the presenter for the week.
Anything else?
Can we give maybe 1,000 nice points to the makers of Zoom for keeping us all connected during the pandemic?
That's a good idea. The director of corporate Naughty and Nice has already taken that into account. And not to mention the naughty points that have been given out for the bugs in the program.
How am I doing? Do you think I'm going to pass?
Well, I still have more questions for you, but so far so good. Number 4, Coming Home to Spirit is a support group led by Joyce Stone that gathers on Zoom at 8 a.m. on Friday mornings. Naughty or nice?
Nice. Well, of course, Joyce gets extra points for hosting, and I think everyone else should get a nice point, too.
Do you mean everyone? Because everyone is invited to be part of any of these groups. It's come as you are. The Zoom links for these meetings can be found in the bi-weekly email.
Well, I meant everyone that attends, but let's give a bonus point to the people who send out that email.
That's a good idea. If people are not getting the emails, then they could just call the office and request to be added to the list.
And everyone that adds to the list should also get another nice point. And also, the person who maintains the list should get a nice point.
Oh, okay. Number 5, members can still order poinsettias in memory of a loved one or to honor someone they love, maybe even themselves. A donation of $10 each is requested, and order forms are in the bookstore. They may take their poinsettias home with them anytime after the service on December 19th.
I would say they get a nice point for honoring their loved ones, and a nice point for sharing them with their church family.
You're awfully free with those nice points, aren't you?
I told you up front, if it was CSLCV, they were all going to be nice.
Okay, number 6. CSLCV is planning a beautiful Christmas Eve candlelight service on Friday the 24th at 5 p.m. And there will be caroling beginning at 4:45. So come early for a good seat.
Oh, that one's easy. 1 nice point for attending, 1 nice point for singing, and 3 nice points for each musician and volunteer that helps put on the service.
Great news, you've passed, and you start Monday in the naughty or nice department.
Is this like when a bell rings and the angel gets its wings?
No, this is where everybody stands and sings like a choir of angels the closing song, A Light in This World.
And just for the quick reminder, next Sunday is our choir Sunday. So we're having our full choir back to do some holiday music for you. So be sure to come and join us for that.
I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. We are alive, we are alive, we are alive in this world. We are alive, we are alive, we are alive in this world. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. We shine, we shine, we shine.
And so I know that each one is indeed that beautiful point of light. That spirit has no limit, no lack. It shines through every being, every person, every living thing on the planet. And so I know that we go forth this week allowing our light to shine, to be that place where love and joy and hope and peace show up. I give great thanks for each and every one of you, and so it is.